Audi's officially launched its new F1 team, but the real car's being kept hidden and remains a mystery, even though it's already run on track. The Audi R26 completed an early shakedown at Barcelona nearly 2 weeks ago, when grainy images and video of it emerged as some tried to capture it from a distance outside the circuit perimeter. But the real thing remains in the shadows, as its team-stroke-season-stroke-livery launch event in Munich on Tuesday night was mainly about showing off its new colour scheme and full range of partners. That livery is basically the 1930s Auto Union meets modern day titanium concept car shown towards the end of last year, and may well be divisive among fans, although in our experience it at least looks better from some angles than others, and better in reality than on camera. Beyond that, Audi, where's your car? It made a big effort to be the very first team to run on track when it completed a shakedown at Barcelona on January the 9th. There wasn't much material released from the day, just a few teaser images afterwards, which was fair enough as that wasn't really the point, and Audi did always tee this launch event up as a team launch, not something for the real car. Still, we can't help wonder why. Audi entering F1 is a big deal, its new car is ready, and it's playing down expectations massively for 2026 anyway, so why not show the car off? That's better than basically holding 2 livery launches, given this is just October's event with more stickers on the car. Maybe it's because the real car is a little basic and, dare we say, slightly underwhelming in its provisional specification. But it means the only real Audi insight we have is from that distantly shot shakedown, which revealed little. We're pretty sure the car's got pushrod front and rear suspension, it's an early iteration design with very basic aerodynamic features, and it didn't run as much as it should have. Those filming days permit up to 200 kilometers of running, but Audi only managed about a quarter of that. Team principal Jonathan Wheatley has said the big difference to the 2025 Sauber is that Audi's new car looks like one from front to back that's been designed with one purpose, an allusion to the integration and packaging benefits of being a full works team. But it would be lovely to see that design from front to back. If you have seen or heard what did emerge from the shakedown though, you might have thought that sounds like an improvement, and Wheatley agrees. Having obviously heard the new car in person and kept an eye and ear on a couple of other teams on Instagram, he reckons the new engines with increased electrical power output but no MGUH sound more aggressive than before. The bigger point from Audi's perspective is that it got a car ready so early to test 9 days into January, even if it won't show us what that car looks like. And Wheatley said the reward for a hugely ambitious undertaking is it got us ahead of the game, with new Team Cadillac running a week later and Racing Bull shaking its car down on the same day as Audi's launch event. Nobody else has hit the track so far. To make that possible, Audi completed its fire up at the factory in mid-December, a month before reigning world champion McLaren did the same for its car, for example. This all matched a timeline Audi head of F1 project Mattia Binotto had mapped out back in early November to us, and it doesn't happen without being in the plan for a long time. Technical director James Key revealed that the January shakedown plan was first set out internally 18 months ago. Still, it didn't come without challenges. The final stressful phase of testing the engine on the dyno and building up the car in November last year, for example, came at the time the factory also had to deal with a massive 2025 car rebuild due to Gabriel Bortoletto's huge crash at the Brazilian Grand Prix. And returning to the point about Audi having a simple car to start with, it's clearly been more conservative in some areas. That's got to be the case to get a car ready to run so early in the year. The aero specification is basically one that Audi was happy to have on just for reliability and systems checks, and this will almost certainly be on the car again for the private Barcelona test next week when teams can run on 3 out of 5 days. At one of the 2 Bahrain tests, Audi plans to introduce what it calls its race update, which it will use in the season opener. It hasn't pushed its initial engine and car parts because as a new works team and with a complex engine to figure out, reliability and accumulating mileage as early as possible are key. So when Audi ran at Barcelona the first time, it was primarily about gathering initial data on the new engine rather than chasing any kind of meaningful performance read on the car, even by shakedown standards. There are benefits on the car side too, to make sure there are no nasty surprises once Audi starts running through a more serious program, but for Audi the engine is the biggest unknown. As we mentioned, the team didn't maximise the filming day in terms of the mileage limitation, but Wheatley claims that we achieved what we wanted to achieve in terms of getting both drivers in the car, running through various systems checks, and getting initial feedback. Having developed its first F1 engine, Audi is one of the few works teams on the grid, but it's a newcomer along with Red Bull Ford powertrains up against Mercedes, Ferrari and Honda. It isn't expecting to arrive with a class-leading engine straight away. Audi is worried though that there will be a large disadvantage added on top of its existing inexperience in the form of F1's first real engine controversy of this rules era. That's regarding how the new reduced compression ratio rule should be interpreted for 2026. The regulations specify a 16:1 compression ratio, down from 18:1 previously, measured under static conditions at ambient temperature. Audi, along with manufacturers like Honda and Ferrari, believes that limit should apply at all times. In other words, the compression ratio should never exceed 16:1, even though the engines are capable of running higher than that and would ideally produce more performance by doing so. But there's been a major debate behind the scenes because Mercedes, and to some extent Red Bull Ford powertrains, have interpreted it differently. Their view is that the engine must meet 16:1 at the point of measurement, but can effectively exceed that on track and get more performance as operating temperatures rise and components expand. The gain from that is thought to be worth as much as 0.3 of a second depending on circuit characteristics, and Audi is strongly against it. Binotto did a good job of sidestepping the topic a few times when probed on it at Audi's launch, claiming he didn't even know if it was true, but eventually, when asked what happens if it is a real trick, he replied, "It is certainly a significant gap in terms of performance and lap time, and certainly that would make a difference when we come to competition." And they don't expect clarity or compromise from a meeting this week when the topic will be raised. It's more for the future, as there's unlikely to be anything done during 2026, even though there is some pressure in some quarters to introduce clarification or an adjustment around the summer break. The more realistic expectation is that any change would come for 2027 at the earliest, and that means any disadvantage Audi believes this interpretation creates on top of any other performance weaknesses that may come from simply being new to F1 engine development is going to be baked in throughout its first season as a works F1 team. As Wheatley said about the main differentiator this season, the engine is going to play perhaps a larger part early on than all of us originally imagined, and I suspect it will be about catching up. There is a huge amount of uncertainty over where the engines, and of course the cars, will actually play out in terms of a pecking order. So if you want to be the first to know the inside track on F1's biggest shake-up in decades, make sure you get your F1 Paddock Pass by joining the Race Members Club. It's the perfect time to check out a 7-day free trial of the Members Club and see the true picture of what's happening in F1. Come behind the scenes with us for exclusive updates, expert analysis, and bonus podcasts just for you. Just head to the Members Club via the link below to claim your 7-day free trial. Audi has already owned the Sauber team for a couple of years, but this is the first F1 car and engine to carry its name. To challenge and beat the likes of McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari requires major gains to be made on both the chassis and engine sides. An encouraging 2025 boosted Sauber's credibility, taking it from the back into the thick of the midfield fight, but the first Audi year still has modest initial targets. Binotto just wants to finish the first race and the first weekend in total without any significant problems on track. His slightly nebulous goal by the end of the year is to be perceived as a strong and serious competitor for the future by rivals. Then he will feel Audi is on the right path for what it has grandly dubbed Mission 2030, which underlines how long is required to emerge as a true frontrunner. This is at least a realistic timeline. The downside is that it's very much a corporate roadmap of the sort that has more often than not left F1 teams embarrassed when they fail to hit the target. Tellingly, Binotto has phrased things subtly differently. He refers to the objective of being to fight for a championship by 2030 rather than emphatically win one. Binotto's way of putting it is more sensible, as even if you are able to contend for the title, you can never guarantee being able to win it, and you certainly have no divine right to do so. But overall, it reflects the question marks hanging over an engine program that is brand new and a race team that is still evolving in terms of facilities and staff. Sauber only opened what's called the Audi Motorsport Technology Centre in the UK, a key outpost that can house personnel not based in Switzerland or Germany, last summer. And as Wheatley points out, it's still rebuilding after years of financial struggles in the wake of former owner BMW pulling out of F1 at the end of 2009. So improvements are required in all areas. Binotto targeted improving the team's culture when he joined in 2024, something that Wheatley has also contributed to since coming on board in April last year. And he points out that it's only by improving in every single area that Audi can deliver on Mission 2030. While Binotto says the engine infrastructure is all in place, it still needs time to develop the engine. At Hinwil, he pointed to the need to improve its manufacturing capacity to improve speed and quality of parts production, for more space through enlarging its campus, and also the brand new driver-in-loop simulator that's been ordered. But this doesn't make 2026 a write-off. Binotto is very clear that he expects the team to perform under pressure as a key measure of its progress. If Mission 2030 is to be a success, and the history of manufacturers in F1 delivering on their ambitions proves that is a big if, then it demands at least a solid first Audi season as a foundation.